For taxpayers without IRP5s who pay their own retirement fund contributions, we can ignore this IRP5 form on the income screen and go straight to the retirement fund contributions window on the deductions screen and enter the retirement fund contributions there. Here we can enter contributions paid to pension, provident and RA funds as code 4001, 4003 and 4006 amounts directly into these white fields. We can even itemize these contribution details if we wish, and I will explain this itemizing in more detail later. The total of the employer's plus the taxpayer's current and arrear contributions may be entered as code 4001, 4003 and 4006 contributions. The total of these three amounts will be used in the calculation of the deduction allowed for retirement fund contributions. WinTax will use the total contributions to retirement funds in the calculation to determine how much of these contributions qualify as a deduction under the 27.5% rule. Amounts for codes 4472, 4473 or 4475 do not affect any calculations and are for record purposes only. Obviously, there will be no employer's code 4472, 4473 or 4475 contributions as this taxpayer was not employed. Let's go back to the IRP5 screen and look at a taxpayer who was employed and received an IRP5. The new laws concerning retirement fund contributions are a little complex when it comes to employed taxpayers whose IRP5 show contributions paid by the employer. In the 2016 tax year, Code 4001 indicated pension fund contributions paid by the taxpayer. Now, Code 4001 signifies the total of contributions paid by the taxpayer and the employer and includes current and arrears contributions. The same applies to codes 4003 and 4006 for provident and RA contributions. It is important to remember that these code 4001, 4003 and 4006 total contributions are totaled up, and the total is used in SAS formulas to determine how much of this total retirement fund contribution amount may be awarded as a deduction. In our example here, we can see the taxpayer belonged to a pension fund and both the employer and employee contributed to the pension fund. Code 4001 indicates the total of all current and arrear pension fund contributions paid by both the employer and the employee to the employee's pension fund. Code 4472 shows the amount of the contributions paid by the employer. As the contributions paid to a retirement fund by an employer are taxable in the hands of the employee, we see the taxable element of the Code 4472 amount as the Code 3817 amount added to income. In most cases, the Code 4472 amount and the Code 3817 amount will be the same, but sometimes these amounts may differ depending on whether the pension fund is a defined benefit or a defined contribution fund. Obviously, the Code 4472 amount of contributions paid by the employer is included in the Code 4001 total of contributions. Similar to medical aid fund contributions, you probably will not find a code amount for the employee's contribution shown on an IRP5, but simply subtracting the employer's contributions from the total contributions gives you the employee's contributions. If these were contributions to a provident fund, then the total contributions would be Code 4003, the employer's contributions would be Code 4473, and the taxable element of the employer's contributions would be Code 3825. If these were contributions to an RA fund, then the total contributions would be Code 4006, The employer's contributions would be code 4475, and the taxable element of the employer's contributions would be code 3828. If we click on these blue info buttons, then a text screen opens giving us more information on these codes. Notice that the total of 25,000 Rand in the yellow field at the bottom of the deductions and contributions screen is not the total deduction amount. It is merely a total of the amounts in this column that may be used in SARS's formulas and calculations used to determine the allowable deductions or tax credits according to legislation limits. Note that while tax-free remuneration forms no part of income for normal income tax, the part of SARS's rule for the deduction calculation, which states 27.5% of remuneration, will include taxable and may include some tax-free remuneration. The definition of remuneration with regard to the retirement fund contribution formulas has been changed to include some amounts that were not included in the term remuneration before. WinTax will work out all these calculations and limits for you by selecting what amounts need to be included as remuneration and as taxable income with or without capital gains tax amounts. We need to click on Calculate on this screen and then open the Deduction screen. And then click on the Retirement Fund Contributions tab. If our taxpayer was employed and we entered contributions to retirement funds on the income screen IRP5, then those contributions on the income screen IRP5 will be shown here in the yellow fields. The total contribution amounts in the white fields will be used by WinTax for processing our deduction claim. You do not have to re-enter these amounts into the white fields again. You can click on this button which says Transfer IRP5 Contributions to this screen, and each amount in the yellow fields that have been ticked will automatically be copied into the white fields to be used by the program. If you do not want a particular amount to be transferred from the yellow field to the white field, then deselect it before clicking on the transfer button. As we mentioned earlier, obviously a self-employed taxpayer without an employer would have no amounts in the yellow fields. So you would just go ahead and enter taxpayers' contributions into the white fields on this screen. However, I will now copy the IRP5 amounts in the yellow fields over to the white fields here for processing by clicking on this button. You may change any amount in the white field to see the effect of a what-if scenario. For example, if you change the code 4001 amount for the taxpayer's pension contributions in the white column from 15,000 Rand to 25,000 Rand, then WinTax would work out a new deduction amount and show you the difference that this would make to the tax. For many users, the ability to itemize different policies and funds is essential. They've always needed to see these individual policies and funds details as well as the contributions, etc. on the reports. The itemizing works like this. If I click on this itemizing button, I will open the itemizing grid. In this grid, we can list the individual RA policies, including the underwriter, policy numbers, etc., whatever we want to show, as well as who pays what amounts towards premiums or contributions. These grids offer an unlimited number of lines, so you can store information for as many funds for a taxpayer as is required. When we click on the OK button to close the itemizing grid, the program will add up the contribution amounts entered here and place the total contributions and employers' contributions in the correct fields in the white column. These itemized details will appear on printed reports. Note that if there were brought forward retirement fund contributions in this field at the top of this window, then WinTax will add this brought forward amount in with the total contributions to retirement funds to make up the amount that may qualify as a deduction according to SARS's formulas.